Cutting sugar from your diet will make you look younger and get rid of a lot of your wrinkles. I'm going to show you how I did it, what the results were, and I'm also going to give you my no BS tips. Hi, welcome to my channel 10 years younger. I'm 44, but I'm often mistaken as much younger. So I cut sugar from my diet 6 months ago, and the reason I did that was sugar ages our skin through a process called glycation. So I made a whole video that goes into depth about that, but it's basically when we eat sugar, we get harmful compounds in our system which bond to the protein in our skin. So instead of our skin cells being plump and healthy and radiant, they become hard and rigid, and you get lines and wrinkles and signs of aging. So I'm going to show you the before and after images here. You can definitely see that the lines around my eyes have definitely reduced a lot and my skin looks a lot healthier. But there are other huge benefits I got from cutting sugar from my diet which I didn't realise. So first of all, my sleep quality has improved hugely. The second thing, I've got a huge increase in my ability to focus, and I've got much less brain fog. So when I'm doing my job, I make much fewer mistakes and I'm much more focused. But the biggest benefit I've found is that I've lost some stubborn belly fat, which I've been trying to lose for the last couple of years really, and it just kind of melted away after a couple of months, which I found amazing. So this has been a huge success for me, and it can also be a success for you. So before you start to reduce sugar in your diet, you need to understand why it's so difficult for us to cut sugar and the effects it has on our body. So think about your parents when you were younger telling you don't get a dessert until you finish your dinner. So kids are given sugar as a reward, and even though I'm 44 years old, after dinner, I automatically have in my brain, I want to have something sugary, I want a dessert. So we've been conditioned throughout our lives to get a reward for good behavior. It could be a biscuit or ice cream or something like that. So when you're older, if you're stressed, if you've had a bad day, or if you're feeling depressed, the first thing we do is reach for the ice cream or a comforting sugary food that will make us feel good. So it's difficult to kind of go against that lifetime of programming. When you eat sugar, it causes receptors in your brain to release dopamine and serotonin, which are happy hormones. They make us feel elated and happy, and that's all great. But they bypass our sense of control. So imagine you go to the freezer and you get some ice cream and you think, I'm just going to have 2 spoonfuls and I'm going to put it back. But you end up eating the whole thing. So while you're eating it, you're thinking, this is going to make me fat, this is going to be bad for my teeth, I need to stop now, I'm going to have one more and put it back, but you end up finishing the whole jar. Because those signals coming from your brain, they're so powerful, you feel so good eating it, it overrides that kind of common sense. This can be compared to addictive drugs like cocaine. And when you cut sugar from your diet, you can expect to have a week period of cold turkey. Some people feel irritable and they have mood swings. You can even have stomach upsets. It depends on the individual. I didn't actually have anything like that, but maybe that's because I'm irritable and have mood swings all the time. But after a week or so, your body will adjust to having lower levels of serotonin and dopamine, and you'll feel better and your skin will look a lot better. So stick with it. So you wouldn't want to cut 100% of sugar from your diet, because sugar is what powers our brains. So there are 3 sources of sugar. First of all, you've got sucrose, which comes from refined sugar, which is the stuff you can buy in the supermarket. Secondly, you've got fructose, which comes from fruit. And finally, you've got lactose, which comes from milk and dairy products. So you wouldn't want to cut fruit from your diet completely, because you've got vitamins and fiber and, healthy nutrients as well as the sugar. But there are some fruits like mango and pineapple which are really high in sugar, and there are fruits like berries, blackberries and strawberries which are much lower in sugar. So these 3 sources of sugar will all rot your teeth, age your skin and make you fat. Although fructose comes from fruit, it still has the same effect. So you need to make sure you lower sugar from all 3 of these sources. And it really annoys me when I see YouTubers who say, oh yeah, I've cut refined sugar from my diet and I've replaced it with organic honey, because organic honey is still 75% sucrose. So you're just like playing around with, swapping one with the other. You have to reduce all 3 of them. So now I want to explain how I cut sugar from my diet. So in the UK, it's advised that an adult should have a maximum of 30 grams of sugar a day. So this is 30 grams of sugar. That's what that looks like. In January, I calculated the amount of sugar I was having every day was actually 90. I was having this much of sugar every day. Now that looks like a hell of a lot of sugar to me compared to what the daily limit should be. Another way I found really helped me to visualize how much sugar is in a product is 1 teaspoon of sugar equals 4 grams of sugar. So if something has 8 grams of sugar, you just divide it by 4. Yeah, you've got 2 teaspoons. So that really helped me. Now, most of the sugar in my diet at that time came from hidden sources. So I wasn't eating loads of cakes and biscuits. The first thing I noticed, I was getting an enormous amount of sugar from breakfast cereals. So Cocoa Pops, cornflakes, they have an enormous amount of sugar. So the easiest thing, I swapped to shredded wheat. This is 100% wheat, no sugar, there's nothing added. There's a tiny amount of sugar in wheat naturally, but it's like 0.0% something. So this is the best breakfast cereal. And what I do is cut some strawberries or add some blueberries on the top in the morning just to give it a bit of a kick. I really loved chocolate, so it's difficult to cut that from my diet, but I did found Choco Logic, which is a sugar-free chocolate, which you can buy in the supermarket. I used to think yogurt was really healthy, but it's actually packed with sugar. So I found a soya sugar-free yogurt made by Outpro, which actually tastes really great, and I do have that to snack on. That's a really good alternative. I used to have a Snicker and things like that every day, which are obviously full of sugar. So I thought, I know I'm going to have some nut bars. They're healthy and they're going to have less sugar. I was so wrong. So if you look at something like this, it contains 15 grams of sugar. So that is absolutely immense because all these nut bars, the nuts are stuck together with honey or with syrup or sugar. So it's not really an alternative. So the best thing I found was just to buy nuts. So I buy hazelnuts, I buy mixed seeds, and I buy walnuts. And then after a meal, I will kind of take a handful and just munch on them. If you like eating jam in the morning on your toast, you can go for a diabetic jam. So I found this one in Tesco, and this contains 0.3 grams of sugar per tablespoon. Now that's a huge improvement compared to normal jam, and it tastes really good as well. With all these things, you have to kind of get used to having that huge kick from a normal product going to something with less sugar, but in a couple of weeks you will get used to that. So another thing I didn't realize had so much sugar is ketchup. So first of all I switched to this one, which is 50% less sugar, and then I switched to the no added sugar at all, because this initially you're going to think this is really weird, so you might want to step down before you go to the sugar-free version. Another thing I didn't think had sugar was bread. This particular bread has 2.5 grams of sugar per slice. Now that's not added sugar, it's just found naturally in the flour. So you can buy bread with 0.5 grams of sugar, but it tends to have less fiber, so it's going to be less filling. So with the example of bread, I've just kept this in my diet, because if you're not full up, then you're going to be reaching for snacks to fill you up. When your stomach digests white bread, which is a simple carbohydrate, sugar is released and it goes into your system. However, with brown bread, a complex carb, the sugar is used as energy to digest the fiber, so it's much better for us. The other mistake I made was buying dried fruits like dried apricots and prunes, and I thought this is a great healthy, low sugar snack. Actually, if you consider how much sugar is in a plum, okay, and how many would you eat? Maybe you'd have 1, 2, maximum 3. You wouldn't want to sit and eat the whole box. That'd just be, you'd feel really bloated. But if you dry these, they become much, much smaller. They have no liquid and they're much easier to eat, and you can binge on them. So you can easily eat, 10 prunes in one sitting, especially if they're in syrup. So dried fruit is not really a good alternative, because when you dry the fruit, there's so much sugar, it's so concentrated in sugar. And on the screen now, I'm just going to show you the sugar percentage in some everyday dry foods. If you take an apple, okay, you could eat 1 apple. You wouldn't really want to eat 2 or 3 or 5 apples, right? You could eat 1. But if you squash this and make this into juice, say this is 4 or 5 apples, you could easily down this in less than a minute, but you wouldn't want to eat loads of these. So again, when you're looking at fruit juice or anything which is condensed, you're really looking at huge amounts of sugar. So if you like going out drinking or clubbing, or you're going to parties and you drink alcohol, then one issue I had was with mixers. So when I go out, I would have like vodka and Coke or vodka and orange juice, but those mixers are really high in sugar, and if you're going to go out all night and you have 10 drinks, that's going to be an enormous amount of sugar at the end of the night. You also need to be careful of processed foods. So if you buy a paella or a spaghetti bolognese, a lot of the time it's got additives and it's got, tomato sauce, which is really high in sugar. I thought stir fries were really healthy because they contain vitamins and fiber. But I used to buy from the supermarket, a pack of chopped stir fry vegetables, and I used to mix that with a Blue Dragon stir fry sachet of sauce. So the sauce contained 40 grams of sugar. That's just one serving. And then the actual vegetables have natural sugar, and that had 16 grams of sugar. So altogether, you're getting a huge amount of sugar in that one meal. So obviously you want to keep the vegetable because it's good for you and it's got fiber and nutrients, but you want to cut the stir fry sauce. So I found you can buy stir fry oil, which has quite a nice taste, and there are other ways to add spice or taste to the stir fry. This does have more fat, but that's another thing. What makes food attractive to us is fat and sugar. If you reduce the sugar, you need to increase the fat. If you reduce the fat, you have to increase the sugar. And that's why when you look at low-fat foods, a lot of the time it's best to avoid them because they contain lower fat but more sugar. So if you look at low-fat yogurt, in the end you're eating more sugar. So just go for the normal version. So let's look at labeling. Now, it isn't as easy to just get a product, look at the label, and then it says sugar. Manufacturers know how to get around this, and there are 60 different words for sugar, and I'm going to put those on the screen now. So to help you, if you see an ingredient that ends OSE, like fructose or sucrose or dextrose, then that means it's sugar. Another thing which is really misleading and annoying is that if you look at a normal product, it will give you the nutritional value per 100 grams. However, what manufacturers do, if it's a product that contains loads and loads of sugar, instead of putting 100 grams, they put per 30 grams or per serving size, in order to trick you and think it's low in sugar when it's actually not. So you need to make sure you're looking at the values per 100 grams, especially in things like chocolate. Let's talk about artificial sweeteners. Now, there's a lot of controversy around this because they're so much sweeter than sugar, they actually encourage you to have cravings for sweet things. So, and I'm talking about things like NutraSweet and Splenda. And they will contain ingredients which I'll put on the screen now. One thing that really did help me was xylitol. So this is called Total Sweet in the UK, but it's got different names in different countries. This has 40% less calories than normal sugar, and it's good for your teeth. And you can actually cook with this. So I use this to make sugar-free chocolate brownies, and I actually found this to be really helpful. You have to be careful because this is poisonous to pets, so keep it away from your cats and your dogs. So my final tips would be, first of all, make sure you plan your meals every day. So when you go to the supermarket, make sure that you plan what you're going to have for dinner every day, and that will reduce the likelihood that you're going to end up grabbing something unhealthy at the last minute. If you look at Starbucks drinks or if you buy a fruit smoothie, they contain an enormous amount of sugar, but because it's liquid and because it's so easy to knock back, we don't really think about the sugar content in drinks. If you eat more fat and protein, that will help you to feel fuller, so you'll be less likely to look for sugary snacks after your meal. And my final tip is think about the progress you've made. So even if you've only had a couple of weeks sugar-free and you're really feeling a craving, just think to yourself how well you've done for those 2 weeks, and just think how great you're going to look and how much slimmer you're going to be, when you're tempted to reach for that sugary snack. So I hope this has helped. If you've got any questions, please put them below. If you do try to go sugar-free, please comment below and let me know how it goes. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you in my next video.